Thinking of all my friends in Indie Coffee Coalition, just thinking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars we've saved coffee shop owners just like you, who are not franchisees, who are looking for deals on their fat mix and their energy drinks. Why should the franchises get all the deals, right? Indie Coffee Coalition was built with the idea of saving you, the little guy, tons of cash. So if you're a coffee shop owner, you have 1 to 3 coffee shops, and you're serving blended drinks or energy drinks, we can substantially save you money and keep more money in your pocket. Set up a call. I'd love to talk with you. Indie Coffee Coalition, keeping money in your pocket.
Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club, where we discuss all of the insights, expertise, and drama that goes into making your passion your profession. Our hosts, Aaron, Ben, and Drew, are 3 coffee experts who have taken their coffee experience and turned it into true expertise. They have consulted with major coffee brands throughout the United States and beyond, providing operations expertise and growth strategy for drive-thru openings, multiple locations, and everything in between. So brew yourself a cup and hang out a bit with the Coffee Experts Club.
Coffee Experts Club. Good to see you guys here, man. Ben, Drew, always a phenomenal thing to see you. How's life?
Great. Phenomenal. Yes.
Drew, how's life when you're like, hey, I love owning a coffee business, especially when we are having problems with an old building and septic starts to backflow into the sinks. Isn't that a sweet opportunity?
I learn. It teaches me stuff. No, it sucks. I'll try to silver line it, but that is never a problem that someone wants to hear.
Last week it was machines, and it was the saddest voicemail I've gotten in so long. 2 a.m., super deflated. Drew Moody voice is just like, dude, I stayed up until 2 a.m. I pulled this whole machine apart. I plugged everything back in and I couldn't get it to work. I don't know what the problem is. I'm going to be back here tomorrow morning, but we don't have any steam milk. I'm just so discouraged. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to hear that message again. So then I got on the internet, and I'm like, it looks like there's a place in Belize City. They sell a machine that is not our line. They're not La Marzocco, but man, it's an Italian made machine. Let's just buy a 2 group, get you something that you can have is like, we don't have to worry about it just for now. I don't want to hear your voice sound like that again. Like you're an owner of a business. You shouldn't be having to fix machines until 2:00 in the morning. But anyway, so that was Drew last week. And this week it was, you should have seen the video I got shot across, Ben, of like what that looks like to have something bubbling back up into your sink. So it's pretty sweet.
Oh, it
It's
reminds
fun.
me of the old, in the back of the shop where it just catch all the grease trap and everything.
We need one of those.
We were just talking grease traps, in fact, and of that exact thing. We might have to have Cody Anderson on to talk to us about the fun of grease traps and nets that he used to have to use all the time, and snakes that he would finally pawn off to somebody else. Anyway, there's so much fun in owning your own business. If you're joining us for Coffee Experts and you're thinking about opening a new coffee location, don't be discouraged. This is the place to come. Invite your friends, because we're talking about opening new coffee shops. And our guest today is going to talk about opening their newest location. We're having back to the show from Coffee Republic in Great Falls, Montana, one of our good friends. I love him a lot. Such a good dude, has such an amazing brand. So Jonathan Maiers, let's bring him onto the stage, guys, because it's always great to have him here.
I was just listening to your grease trap conversation.
The Bane.
The
Funny
joys
thing,
of the grease trap.
that
Oh,
was one thing that almost held us up from opening our second store
yep.
Yeah.
because they're requiring them now. And I actually got on Amazon and found one that goes under your triple sink for $80, and they had it to me
Nice.
in 2 days.
Drew, like something for us to consider. And honestly, Jonathan, like we're just having this whole conversation because like obviously in Tri-Cities when we would build new locations, just like you were saying, sometimes they required them and
Mhm.
sometimes they didn't. Like it
Mhm.
depended on which town we were in and what, like the municipality would require. And we were always like, please God, please God, please God, no grease trap. But what it does present is a real pain point because you're shoving like milk product into the sewer system, which we all know like coagulates, creates all kinds of smell and craziness. But
Mhm.
downside to grease trap is like smells
Mhm.
and cleaning them and the enzymes you have to add and all the fun that grease trap brings.
Yeah, they're not fun.
They are not fun. But Drew and I were just talking about it because, obviously, like we know all those things, but you come into a country like Belize that is some years behind, and then like we kind of jerry rigged like the setup because location number 1, we were like, is this concept going to work in Belize? Because we've seen it work great in the States, but is it going to work? So we didn't want to go deep on all the money. So we're not going to install all the things we might install here as precautions, like a grease trap.
Mhm.
They're not going to require it. We're not going to do it.
No.
Now we're 2.5 years in and we're like,
Should
should
you
we
done
sell
that?
something like that? Yes, because now it's really turning into a pain point. So
Yeah.
anyway, all the fun.
Not fun.
So, bro, just number one, mass respect for you. Like you are a franchisee for a big franchise for a long time.
Mm.
So they bought you out of your contract, and you took that money and went started your own business, you and your family up in Montana. One of my favorite places on earth. I love that I get to see almost every time I go now. It's the thing. But I think too, kudos to you for starting something so sweet. And then this last trip I came up there, I'm like, I don't always get to connect with you, but I'm excited to see Jonathan this time. He just opened the second location. We've been talking about it all this time. Pull it up on Google Maps so I can actually locate and show my wife where it is. And it pulls up this location. And I'm like, freaking Google Maps has it wrong. I knew where we met last time and talking
Yeah.
about what location number 2 was going to be. And I'm like, so I screenshotted it, started a text to you, sending it to you. And then I saw out of the corner of my eye, I'm like, holy crap, that is their sign.
Yeah.
Wrong. And so then I went back and deleted my text, didn't send it to you, but I'd love to talk about the juking and the pivoting of opening up a new location, because we had talked about a different location number 2 last time we had the show. And then this one came out of nowhere, but it was really unique and really special. And so I'd love to talk to the guests just about, especially let's frame it up around unique opportunities and maybe out of the blue that are not just out of the box thing that everybody would think about. Cause I think that's what Coffee Republic does really, really well, is how can we think outside the box? So tell us a little bit about location number 2, man.
Well, so we still have the original location number 2 is going to happen.
Yeah.
But my wife and I just recently bought a new house in March, and I was talking to our realtor, and, he says, oh, the only time you ever talk to me is if you're trying to buy something, buy a house or whatever. And so, well, if you can find me a drive-through to rent or something, I'd be interested. So he's, oh, I will. I wish you would have told me that, because I know of this spot that used to be a drive-through coffee shop attached to this gas station on Fox Farm. So I went in there. I asked for the manager, asked for the owner, kind of never got anywhere. And finally he made contact. The guy said, yeah, we'd love to have you. And it turns out he's the same guy that owns the gas station next to us on 10th that
Crazy.
didn't really love us.
Well, I mean, and can you blame him? You turned that corner into a circus show like that. Your grand opening, you had things wrapped around the building. I'm sure neighboring businesses didn't love you because of the Zoom, but I mean, good for you. Yeah.
He put up a fence between our driveways so that I could go from ours into his or vice versa. So,
oh man.
We went over and looked at it, and they were using it as a storage room, and it was small, really small. It was about, I think, 8 by 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So really small little space. And we went kind of back and forth. He was willing to move some walls because he had just bought the station and wanted to get some more income out of it. And we came up with a footprint where he gave us a little bit more space. So I think we're like maybe 12 by 14 now. It's still really small, but especially in comparison to what we have on 10. So even looking at, I was, trying to figure out how the heck am I going to fit all the stuff I need to in here. But, our original store in Oceanside, I think was 7 by 8. So we added another storage room behind it, and that was the big thing. I was trying to figure out storage. And so between myself and my dad, we did all the renovations there. He moved the wall, and we had to finish it, do the wiring, do plumbing, do everything.
Wow.
And it was just kind of a sweet deal. It kind of fell into our laps, and I don't know what it took us, maybe 3 months from the time we decided we were going to do it to getting it done. So it was kind of nice because the original number 2, I think my parents bought the building. I think Drew was still here.
Right.
And so that was 2 years ago. And we just 3 weeks ago got permits.
That's crazy.
Oh man. So, I mean, Ben, Drew, that opens up just a whole set of questions probably for you guys. Let's fire away at Jonathan, because obviously the pivoting of a whole new location out of the can, that's what I was going to say, Jonathan. It had been about 3 months since I was in Montana, and you and I had just been on a show, probably in about that amount of time. So I think that's what caught me so off guard. I'm like, this is not what I was expecting.
Caught me off guard too. I wasn't planning on it. We weren't ready for it, but
Was the drive-thru window already there, and you just kind of made the space a little bit larger?
They had so it's on the side of a gas station, and they had like a little bump out window thing that was there originally. We ripped that off because it was like 30 inches wide was all it was. And the ceiling was, 6.5 feet tall
You gotta
inside.
love you gotta love Montana though, right? What was that originally, like drive-through liquor? They're just putting liquor out a window for a drive-through. What the
It
heck's
might
going
have
on in
been. It
Montana?
was a coffee shop at one point that they did, but I think it was like where they'd sell like out of little coffee pumps,
Right,
yeah,
right.
coffee. So yeah, we ripped it off and I got him to let us dress it up like our building on 10th and paint that
Yep.
side of the gas station black so it
Awesome.
looked like us. I kept worrying here and there that, oh, this is not really our look to be stuck on the side of a gas station. And is it going to affect us? And, people going to think we're kind of low budget, but it's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, I'm curious. Do you see a lot of crossover? I would expect like people coming in to get gas and like, oh crap, Coffee Republic.
Yeah, it definitely helps. And the bummer about it was that gas station was closed for, I don't know, about 6 months before he had bought it. And so it had kind of lost traction a little bit there, but it's slowly starting to pick back up and we're starting to get traffic off the road now. And it took a little
I'm sure
bit.
that I'm sure that helps you with negotiating too, though, right? Like as far
Oh,
as
yeah.
he's probably hungry to use some of your traffic to drive to his spot. So it's a win-win. We talk about that all the time on the show.
Yeah.
What's a symbiotic business that you can find that you can be in league with, that
Yeah.
they benefit from you and you benefit from them? And
Yeah.
like I think coffee's the ultimate, right? Of hey, so they're coming there for gas, they're coming there for food, they're coming there for snacks, but you can provide a premium product because we all know what it's like to be on a trip and just wish that you got a better cup of coffee than what you got at the gas station, So
Yeah. And we bring, I think right now we're doing about 200 cars a day there.
Oh wow,
10th is up to near 400.
that's awesome.
great, dude. Congratulations. That's badass.
This one started out a little bit slower. There were some days where I was like, oh, was this a good idea? Or, grand opening was obviously awesome because it was equal to what we did on 10th that day.
Holy cow,
Yeah.
nice.
But then right after that, it just kind of,
But you were doing free? Let's talk about that for a minute. Did you do
Yeah.
free again? Because that's
Yeah.
unique to you guys. So like those of you listening, if you missed this first episode or maybe the second episode we did with Jonathan, like they did something pretty unique and something that blew Ben Clatterbuck's brain off was thinking about doing a free day. Like Ben used to push back on $2 day for a
Yeah.
great like free day is like a totally different animal, but it was
Yeah.
really a brilliant concept. And Jonathan, I don't know if you want to speak to that. I know we had your mom on it that helps a lot with your marketing too of, hey, we can either put a bunch of dollars at ad dollars for subpar marketing, or
Yeah.
we can turn those same dollars into revenue lost. Maybe you might think about it, but really it's advertising that went
Yeah.
out because word of mouth spreads like fire when somebody's doing free
yeah.
coffee and the draw is incredible.
Yeah, well, we spent on the first one a lot of money with the radio station, and I'm not sure that it really did much for us.
Yeah,
Except for having some, I guess, local celebrity show up that day.
But didn't he stumble on it anyway? Wasn't
Yeah.
it like he was driving by in his rig?
Yeah, he missed an interview earlier, so he decided to come do it there, which it was kind of cool. But we spent a bunch of money on it, and I think being able to do free days like that definitely benefited us more than radio or even TV stuff now for what you spend for it. We had over 1,000 cars that first day, I think, on 10th, and I mean everybody was talking about it.
That's because nobody does it, bro. I think
Yeah.
that's probably something to be said here, right? Like, look for a way that you can make yourself a unique splash. Like Jonathan was bringing a totally new concept to Great Falls. Like that, there was some coffee there, but not the way that Jonathan had done. They've been doing it for a decade. They know fast coffee. They know how to do it well. They're badass at culture. They're badass at drinks. They're bringing a pretty new concept to a new town. No way to make a splash. Like, let's do something nobody else is doing around here, and that's a free grand opening. Like, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was a long day again.
how was that navigating the gas station and like, did you guys have problems with traffic, like getting people in and out, stuff like that?
It actually went. We have the ability to stack more cars actually at this
Nice.
gas station because the way you come in, I think even before hitting the street, we can fit about 20 cars in line.
Oh wow,
Yeah. So at one point, where P. Gibson's is, right? They were driving into P. Gibson's and then driving on the sidewalk to get in.
But I do think that something probably to think through that, you know, a lot of times with the way we already have buildings is kind of facing like short width of the building facing the street. The
Yeah.
nice thing about the gas station is that it's so long, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's the stackability is that they
Mhm.
bring them in behind the gas station. Like think about in your mind of a gas station, you know how you can always pull around the gas station. That's where maybe they have their service element or it's where you
Yeah.
fill up your tires with air or whatever. That's actually how Jonathan stacks, you know? So he has that whole back of the building that's the length of the building before they even come out to the window. So it does provide pretty rad stackability.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Pretty nice. The only bummer is that we're not a standalone building, so it's the street presence isn't quite there.
Sure.
Your sign is as big as China, bro. That's not a joke. You guys, I mean, that's the nice thing too. So those
Yeah.
of you who are listening and you're thinking about a location, sometimes the nice thing about grandfathering into something like that gas station was there for a long time, which means
Yeah.
they don't have to go back through all the signage codes. They already have a square footage that they've been allowed. So you don't have to go through the city for all your signage coding like you do when you open a big new location. So the nice thing about it is Jonathan's sign is monstrous on the street in a way that he wouldn't have probably been able to put it out if it was a brand new build because he wouldn't have been approved for that kind of signage. So that is pretty rad. So I mean, where you might have some anxiety of not having visibility of the building, your sign is massive, which is
Oh
beautiful.
yeah, it's big. It's almost the size of the store.
Hey, experts, we've got something really awesome that we do here at Coffee Experts Club, and that's called the My First Drive-Thru Coffee Masterclass. So if you're opening your next coffee shop, I think a lot of times you may think to yourself, I know what goes into opening a coffee shop. I've been doing this for years, but maybe you've been doing it for somebody else. And maybe this is your first option of starting a coffee shop on your own. Or maybe you don't know anything about coffee and you're just like, I'm looking for a good investment opportunity. Starting a coffee shop seems like a good place to put it. And you're going to enter into it. But what you don't know is all the things that you don't know, right? And so what we've done with this masterclass is taken behind the scenes how you find your first location, what you need to be thinking about in finding a location. We give you a gift in the masterclass where it's a step-by-step process of how you're opening your coffee shop, the different checkpoints you need from coming up with your plans and talking with the city and then negotiating a lease. And then how do you build a team and what are the different pieces you need to be thinking about? It's a great masterclass, door to door, start to finish, completely free on opening up your next coffee drive-thru. So check it out. It's at myfirstdrivethru.coffee and it's a great masterclass. You won't regret it. We'll see you on the inside there.
I imagine the lease on that spot with connected to the gas station is like minuscule compared to what you're doing for 10th because 10th is a standalone, its own lot. So I mean, would you recommend that to even somebody like, hey, I've got one location. I want to start blasting out new locations.
Oh,
Is it worthwhile? Just like find a gas station, throw it on there. It's cheap to build.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the rent is, part of the rent on 10th is it's my parents' retirement. So it's probably, it's more than fair, I'll say. But yeah, it's paying about a third of,
Wow. Yeah.
of it. And realistically, we can see the same numbers out of it as we are with the big building.
And cost rise, like we haven't even talked through yet, like obviously in your brain for location original number 2, that was going to be a pretty penny, right? Like dressing that building back up, like it was a dental office. You're going to have to do a bunch of remodel. You're going to have to, city was going to make you do a bunch of improvements, right? Like road improvements because they saw their opportunity to capitalize on that. Like we're talking about things that continue to stack up. Like as Drew and I think about location number 3, we're squirreling away cash as hard as we possibly can because in Belize you can't take loans, So it's like we better have enough cash to lift. And it's expensive to build your own building. I have to imagine this was nice because, like you said, he did the wall. You just had to kind of lipstick on a pig, right? A little bit when it comes to like, you didn't have to get crazy with a budget and you were able to pretty almost overnight open up something and have revenue coming in that has a pretty low expense, right? That has to be awesome.
So the building side, is all my mom and dad. They take care of that. So that's even on this third one, they're going to be developing it and doing all that stuff. But with the stuff we had to do in there, I basically had to buy equipment and do new drywall, and I had it FRP, and we were pretty much ready after countertops and stuff like that to go in. So
badass.
The worst part was, I talked to the health department and she says, yeah, you just need to get a health permit. I said, okay, perfect. So I get the health permit and then all of a sudden I have fire coming to me and building coming to me.
Because it triggers, right?
Yeah.
That's the trigger and it tells all those other departments.
We didn't even know this was here. And we're like, well, it's been here the whole time. We didn't do anything. And then they came in like maybe 4 days before we were opening. And the guy said, well, I'm not signing anything off until you get a grease trap.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Which I
Dude.
put on our health application that I was not putting in a grease trap,
Yeah.
and they signed up. But this is somebody environmental came in. And
Yeah.
Of course.
so I told you I found one on Amazon. It was like a little stainless steel box that fits under your triple sink, and he was there in 3 days. We hooked it up. All he did was poke his head in and say, "Looks good." Signed off. If you pull all 3 sinks, it overflows anyway. So
Yep.
and it doesn't. It's only on our wash sink, so it's not like in our dump sink or anything like that.
Yeah.
But that's where they wanted it.
On the gas station, is there access on the inside to serve customers? Or you guys stand alone on that? On
We were
drive?
staying alone. Yeah. We thought about putting a window into the gas station, but with the limited wall space and everything else we had, it would have just had to be in a weird spot.
Do you guys have you thought about doing any collaborative deals? I imagine they probably sell pastries. You guys sell pastries. Is there any conflict of interest going on there?
No, he even sells coffee.
Okay.
They
Really?
make their little cappuccino machines, that every gas station has. And
That's what you want, the internal window, so you be like, hey, come over
Yeah.
here, try this coffee instead.
much cleaner. No, he's a pretty interesting guy. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're also putting in a casino right behind us. Attached to
That's
the
unique.
gas station.
The unique thing about Montana is they're able to do that, which is crazy. Yeah.
They do everything.
A casino attached to the gas station?
Yeah, so it's a pretty big building, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah,
There's a lot of that in Montana, right? Lucky Vills is another
Yeah.
one, right? That does it too. Yeah.
yeah. All the town pumps.
Huh.
Yeah.
So the ultimate question then is, are you going to look for more gas stations to glue yourself to?
Well, so this guy, thankfully getting in with him, he owns, I think, about 7 or 8 of them all over the state.
Oh,
Wow.
And he's got one in Kalispell that he wants us to come look at. And
Bro, this is conversations you and I had at the steakhouse. This could be
Yeah.
some cool stuff and
Yeah.
like relatively small footprint.
Yep.
Like to be able to expand pretty quickly if you want to. Does that make you nervous? Like sometimes expansion,
No.
like Drew and I have wrestling matches all the time, and I'm like, let's blow the doors off this thing. And Drew's like, dear God, bro, slow the thing
Yeah.
down. I can only keep up with so many locations.
I have those same conversations with myself. I'd love to just keep going, but at the same time, it's a lot. Even with 2, staffing wise, finding good people to help manage. I've got a couple right now that are pretty helpful. But then you think about going to some place that's 3.5 hours away in the summer.
Yep.
That would be my biggest concern is distance with that one, something like that. But
Especially because Kalispell is pretty remote, right? But it is a tourist town. I mean, I bet
No,
it really
yeah.
comes high
It-
season.
yeah, it would do well. It's just it's a logistics thing, trying to figure out, and maybe further down the road when I can have, a little bit more of a team and don't have to do so much here every single day myself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Does he have a location in Whitefish?
I'm not sure where
I was just thinking, Jeremiah Johnson's expanded into Whitefish too. So I'm like, how could you start to form like symbiotic relationships with almost people that like you could cross over together with certain places?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I've seen people do like coffee stouts.
Have you put more thought into, I know you mentioned one time in the past, franchising opportunities? It'd probably be a little bit simpler to run with a franchise having to manage their logistics over you running there in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think, as you guys know, sky's the limit with these things. You can go any direction you want and
Yeah.
do well either way. And franchising is definitely something I've thought about. I just don't know how you do it and who you'd want to franchise to. I mean, I wouldn't want it to just be a bunch of random people I don't know.
yeah.
But
It might be worth a conversation with CJ and Lynn's. Like Outsider's been doing, I think they've sold like 4 or 5 franchises,
Really?
they're doing them all over different places. And I think that, you guys are cut from the same ilk. I know you know them. And I think that I think it would be worth a conversation because I think that CJ's doing so well with it. And obviously it's its own set of problems, right? You are a franchisee, the pain points and the heartache and the heartburn. But I think something to consider when it comes to expansion, because I will say, like Drew and I are even thinking about, so we're opening up location number 3. Do we want location 4 and 5 that we already have locations picked out for? Should those
Mhm.
be corporate stores? Should they be franchise opportunities? Like,
Yeah.
I think that, and we go back and forth on that for this exact same reason. But then obviously it opens up the new Pandora of supply chain. Like for us in Belize, like supply chain's been tricky in Belize.
Yeah.
And so do we want to continue to open up and multiply the trickiness of supply chain? But
Yeah.
obviously a lot less stress when it comes to like building the building and,
Right.
supplying the labor.
If you are the franchisee, then still supply chain, I feel like, is partially
Yeah.
on you to make sure the franchisees are supported and have everything that they need. And it's
They
hard
have
work right here in Great Falls trying to find everything. I can imagine
to.
that, Belize is difficult.
Oh man, we are the supply chain. That's the truth. I mean,
Mhm.
we have moved to producing our own syrups, which is awesome, but it's also its own animal, not something we've ever had to do before, but it was
Yeah.
just more cost effective and more within our control, right? That's what we're finding is what are the things we can keep in our control? Because when it gets
Yeah.
outside of our control, that's hard to control. So I think obviously if you're listening today and you're thinking about opening your own thing, these are things that like, we've all been doing this a while. And so they're things we're thinking about economizing and like
Yeah.
economies of scale and how we can do that. Like if you're opening your own first thing, I think that the lessons of today are, I mean, Jonathan is super smart, his family's super smart. How can you look for creative opportunities? Like
Yeah.
what's the smallest footprint for the least amount of money that you can outlay
Yeah.
to see if your concept's going to work? And then once it does, then the expansion beyond that to some of the efficiencies we're talking about here. But it's definitely exciting stuff.
No, it's exciting and it's fun, stressful,
Scary.
scary. Yeah. Number 2 is a little less scary. I'll say
Yeah.
that. I mean, you still have are people going to show up? But, thankfully you got number 1 supporting you. And number 1 was scary. I know Drew and I we were there. It was like we waited like 15 minutes and we're like, shoot, is anybody going to come in?
The wacky inflatable arm guy doing his thing.
Yeah. And then, probably 2 hours later, we're like, man, are we ever going to get a break? It's a unique business and it's a lot of fun. And, mostly the people you get to work with and the different people you get to meet through the drive-through is
Yeah.
probably my favorite part.
Love that.
Love that. Well, final minute or so left. Jonathan, do you have any words of wisdom? Somebody that's thinking about starting their own place, thinking about taking that brave step. It was a big, brave step for you guys. And for you, like it came out of nowhere. Like you thought you were going to be a franchisee all your days. You thought that's what was going to retire up. That was your game plan. And the franchise pulled the classic franchise card, right? Of they're thinking about themselves more than they're thinking about you. And you guys had to pivot and you had to make a huge, bold move to move from San Diego, California, all the way up to Great Falls, Montana. There's pretty much not two more
Yeah.
opposite places on the planet. Brand new business that had not been done there before, which I'm sure was scary as hell. Like,
Yeah.
so maybe just words of wisdom for somebody that's sitting on the edge and they're thinking, man, should I do this? Should I try it? What's your words of wisdom for them, man?
Well, I would say go for it. Do it. I mean, when we were talking about it, we went back and forth about whether it's a good idea, bad idea. Can we make it work? Can we not? And finally, you just have to, go for it, try it. I mean, I think thankfully, fortunately for us, I had, my mom and dad who put in the money for the building and
Yeah.
I can lease it from them. And for the first couple months, didn't pay him a thing.
Yep.
And so I was fortunate there. But yeah, look for something that you can get into, like this gas station. I mean, the rent is so cheap. And biggest thing we did at the gas station was I signed, what did I do? I did a 3-year lease initially, and then I've got 3 5-years after.
It's great.
So, if it didn't work, I'm not too stuck to it.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
But yeah, don't sign yourself up for something that could screw you over in the end. Make sure you protect yourself and cover yourself, but go for it.
Yeah. I love that, dude. Well, I think you are the man who buys a house and remodels a house inside a house. Like you build houses inside a house. Like you do crazy stuff. Jonathan Maiers does crazy stuff that I've never heard anybody do before. So
Not to this one. We're done. You got to
good,
finish the
man.
basement and that's it.
Well, brother, we're going to be up there for annual planning, not this weekend, but next weekend. And I would love to connect with you. I've got Drew, like tied into it as well for Cavadillas Mayas. So if you guys are around, we'd love to see you. And just
Yeah.
thanks for being such a good friend to us. And thanks for being willing to jump on the show again. And just
Yeah,
so inspired by your journey. And it's just sweet to have you, man.
That's blast. Thankful that Corey Burkett introduced me and we were able to make this happen.
Yes. Shout out to Corey Burkett. We
Yeah.
missed you, man. Anyway, Coffee experts, thanks for showing up for the podcast today. Ben, Drew, always an honor to be here with you guys. And tune in next week. We're going to have more great content for you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much for joining us today. For those of you who are looking to become a coffee expert yourself, we offer an incredible, thorough training online for opening your first coffee drive-thru at www.myfirstdrivethru.coffee.